Why is there such a double standard against Israel? Human Rights Council Condemnatory Resolutions, 2006-present. 0 Zimbabwe. 0 Turkey. 0 Saudi Arabia. 0 Qatar. 0 Pakistan. 6 Russia. 0 China. 3 Venezuela. 2 Sudan. 13 Eritrea. 0 Cuba. 14 Iran. 16 North Korea. 43 Syria. 140 Israel. UN General Assembly Condemnatory Resolutions, 2015-present. 0 Zimbabwe. 0 Venezuela. 0 Pakistan. 0 Turkey. 0 Libya. 0 Qatar. 0 Cuba. 0 China. 7 Myanmar. 9 USA. 10 Syria. 23 Russia. 8 North Korea. 7 Iran. 104 Israel. World Health Organization Condemnatory Resolutions, 2015-present. 0 Literally everyone. 9 Israel. Source: Israel is a relatively wealthy, nuclear-armed nation that receives an incredibly disproportionate level of aid from the West and is deeply integrated economically and politically with the West. I don't think it's surprising that it gets so much more focus. Generally positive focus from the West and generally negative focus from the rest. Many of which see it as a contemporary extension of colonialism. Muslim countries hate Israel. Transparency could also likely be part of it. Leftists and Muslims dislikes Israel. The bad idea that Israelis are white colonizers. Edit as is evidenced below. These two words make people of a certain ideology utterly shut their brains off. The reason is because the other nations had violations that happened over an issue. An issue with a beginning and an end. Be it a war, a persecution, etc. However, Israel has done an illegal thing continuously for a long time. Even if combined it's a much smaller crime than any individual violation of the other nations, it's been done contiguously for such a long time. It adds a violation every few months. Because none of the other countries claim they are a democracy. I think it's because there are 50-something Islamic countries that will bring a resolution against Israel almost all the time. And a lot of which are legitimate resolutions, so a vast number of countries vote for them. Also, most of the persecution of a lot of those other countries are against its own people. But for Israel it's against people of another country, i.e. Palestine. Turns out there are 50 Islamic countries, not 20. Could it be because Israel continues to illegally settle West Bank despite the objections of not only UN but us as well? Regardless of whether the other countries are innocent, shouldn't this be a gigantic red flag for blindly supporting Israel? Because Israel breaks international law on an almost regular basis. Israel is backed by the West and the West lets them get away with whatever they want to. 8,000 dead in Palestine. Mostly civilians. People, it's all about who's told what and what media relays to who and who's portrayed in what light. Just the answers you get here show the truth. Most people who hate Israel suffer from Jewish derangement syndrome. Everything else is just excuses. Simple: Israel is an apartheid state. Because the USA are backing them as well as many European countries. Israel is like an enclave of American imperialism. One thing I haven't seen mentioned is the aspect of colonialism intertwined within this conflict. That's been continuously going on since the late 40s. The founders of Israel were European refugees who settled in land already occupied by others and formed an ethno-state for themselves. To many, that looks like colonialism, and it arguably is. A lot of countries in the global south can probably emphasize greatly with the Palestinians because of that. Edit, I stand corrected. Someone else mentioned the colonization aspect. Anti-Semitism. That's it. This isn't double standard. This shows crimes against humanity committed by Israel. There's 22 Arab nations, and they all dislike Israel to varying degrees. That's a pretty big voting bloc. Is it because the other bad countries are dictatorship that have never signed up to various human rights treaties, while Israel is a democracy that has signed up for those treaties? So these resolutions are for specific treaty violations, while the other bad countries never signed those treaties in the first place? Just a theory. One Jewish country, tons of Muslim countries. It's good Israel is condemned for those of its actions that conflict human rights. That it does so is undeniable. There is no overreporting here. It is bad that it stands out in these lists because for all kinds of reasons, other countries' violations are underreported. The way this argument is often presented suggests that it would be better if Israel would be condemned less. That is absurd. This is not about fairness or a competition with others. Human rights stand for themselves. And the fact that many violations go uncondemned is a tragedy, not an encouragement for a single perpetrator who actually gets condemned. Anti-Semitism. It's because Israel is an open, democratic society. It's very hard to cover crimes up with a free press and legitimate institutions that hold people accountable. Lots of good answers here, but also, anti-Semitism is still alive and well. I'm not saying it's anti-Semitism, but anti-Semitism. It just has different names today so that enlightened people feel better about themselves. Haters gonna hate, but Israel will shine regardless. Imagine being held to a high standard then crying about persecution. Why do people like to pretend that Israel being established didn't displace a massive amount of people? Why do people like to pretend that Israel hasn't continuously expanded its borders but is somehow still the only victim in all of this? Anti-Semitism. The UN is a joke. Set up to stop wars and have a discourse, and they can't stop shit. A joke.